What's up, everybody? I'm Sydnee Goodman,
I'm Kate Franklin.
and welcome to another episode of Shut Up,
Keep going.
a podcast where we explore our internet curiosities.
I'm impressed we can do that virtually.
I know, even with like kind of the lag a little bit.
Yeah, it's not bad.
So today, Kate, I know technically it's like my turn to present this week, but Kate is going to take the reins because I thought I was sick and I might still be. I don't really know what's going on, but she's a good friend and said that she could do it for me because I didn't feel like I was in the mental space to make it happen today.
But you are in the mental space to hear about children sacrifices, so thank God.
I wish that you could all see my face when I first found out that's what we were talking about.
Sorry.
So, okay, well, like, why? Wait. Can I ask about your interview last week? You said that you were gonna wait until we were recording.
Yeah. So I had this interview for a job. I won't say I'll keep it anonymous.
Okay.
But I was really excited about it. I felt like I was a shoo-in, and I'm meeting with like the two executives, basically, that I'd work for. And I get an email after I had my first interview being like, hey, like, we love you. Like, I want to schedule you to meet the executives. And I was like, great. So she was like, how is Wednesday? And I was like, Wednesday is great. I'd love to hear a Wednesday interview. So I prepare. I'm on Wednesday. I'm like freaking out, ready for the interview. I sign on, Sydnee.
Okay.
I sign on to a Zoom link that I was given for Wednesday.
Okay.
And I'm on, and this woman is on who I already like researched everyone. So I knew that she was one of the executives. And I was like, hey, so nice to meet you. Her name was also Catherine. So we like kind of bonded about that. Turns out we live in the same neighborhood. We're just like gabbing.
Love it. Okay.
Then the main, like the boss signs on. And he's like, hey, Catherine. And we're like, haha.
Cute.
There's two Catherines. And like he kind of talks to us for a second, and like we talk about our animals. I literally brought Ernie. Like they were like, oh, do you have animals? And I like brought up Ernie to the screen, and we're going on. And then this woman signs on who's like probably middle age, and I was like, oh, maybe she's like an HR person, because like,
yeah, sure.
I like don't know like what's happening. So they start talking to her. And like like they're like hardcore catching up with this woman.
Okay.
And I was like, am I supposed to be here? Like, I didn't know if I was supposed to be there, but they were like addressing me like in their conversations and like looping me in. So I was like, okay, like I guess we're just very casual and friendly in this
interview
situation. So 30 minutes go by. And they're just talking with this woman.
And nothing's happening. What are they talking about?
Nothing's happening.
Just like business?
Like life. Just like,
so they're
do you, like
coffee ketchup.
Like, coffee ketchup. And then like at the 30-minute mark, almost exactly, the guy was like, okay, so like here's some of the ideas we have for you. And
for you? You?
No, the woman. They start pitching to this woman, aka having an entire meeting with this woman. And I was like, oh my God.
Were you supposed to be taking notes or something? I'm so confused.
No, so I didn't know what to do. I like stayed on because they were like addressing me, and I didn't want to like, and I was texting Caleb in the other room during the whole time being like, haha, like they're like pitching to this woman. Isn't that like crazy? And he's like, oh, maybe they want you to see like how they do that. I don't know. So I stayed on for an hour, or like I stayed on, and then the woman signed off. She's like, okay, these ideas are interesting. Like, I'll let you know. And then she signed off. And then I was like, okay, I guess this is the interview now. And then they both signed off.
What? So were they like, why were you there?
And then this old man with like dyed black hair signs on. He's like, hey, darling. And I was like, oh my God. And so I signed off really fast and like ran out. And I was like, I've just made a huge mistake. And turns out I go through the email thing and she sent me like the long ass Zoom invite thing
Yeah.
and it had the wrong date on it, dude. It was for Thursday. So
Wait,
she told me Wednesday, but the actual interview was supposed to be on Thursday. And so
Thursday.
I accidentally sat in on one of their entire meetings. And I think they thought I was working with the other woman. And she probably thought I was working with them. And so no one addressed me. It was so fucked up.
Oh my god.
And then like I emailed the assistant and I was like, hey, like something happened. She was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I
But
wanted
that's
to
like
tell
so
her,
her
like,
fault.
I know it's obviously her fault. But then I feel like, I mean, I've been an assistant before and I know you like basically don't want to admit any mistakes you make because like you're supposed to be on the shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so she was like, haha, I'm sure they'll laugh about it tomorrow if you're still available to meet with them. And I was like, I have to meet with these people again after I creeped on one of their entire meetings. And I did.
Oh,
And
okay.
it was nails on a chalkboard. Like they were so creeped out because the assistant didn't tell them like what happened. And so I mean,
That's so
I don't know,
fucked.
like, how did the entire company has one Zoom link? That's what I figured out. So yeah, that's what happened.
What
Obviously
the
didn't hear
fuck?
back because they thought I was so creepy.
Did you
I knew you would love this.
Did you say anything to them? Like, yeah, I was there because like I was given the wrong information,
the
or
woman-
like
the thing I dreaded was that they would sign on at different times and I would have to explain it twice. And of course that happened. So the woman signs on and she literally was like she saw me and was like, what? And I was like, yeah, so I was told Wednesday, but yeah, I don't know. Like I tried to explain it the best I could.
Yeah,
without
totally.
like completely
throwing the other lady under the bus.
Yeah, and then the guy signed on and I had to explain it again and he was like, oh, like that's so funny. And so I feel like I mean, it was just like literally a series of unfortunate events.
Yeah,
like,
that's not your
truly.
fault. I feel like that kind of stuff, you just have to try and believe that like it all worked out for a reason. Like that's the only way that I feel like I can mentally reconcile with that, because like that's just such a fluke thing.
Yeah, I know. I was like, this isn't meant to be, because yeah, it was just like very chaotic, and like I've spent basically 3 whole days of my week dealing with this, because like when you have an interview, it's like the whole day is kind of shaped around that.
Totally.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, that would happen to me. I feel like, of all people.
That's so funny. So a Peru Gru in chat says, would have been great if they felt so awkward that they gave you the job just to not have to talk about it.
Okay, I thought about that because I got their ideas. So I was like, I could fucking run with their ideas. Thankfully, I mean, maybe not thankfully, they were terrible.
Oh, okay. I just think that's so, why didn't anybody say something? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that just feels weird that they'd go the whole thing.
Well, because I think they thought like each person involved on either end of the meeting thought I was with the other person.
Yeah.
It was truly like such a sitcom moment.
Interesting. That sounds like there was one time where that must be common then. This wasn't Zoom, but Alex and I were meeting with like an accountant that was recommended to us. And so his assistant was like, okay, call this number. It's like our conference call number, like at whatever time. We're like, great. Yeah. So we both called into it separately, because this was like pre-pandemic, maybe like right before the pandemic. I don't know, but we were not at the same house. We weren't in the same place. And so he calls, and then I'm there, and we're both there, and we're like, hey, like da 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 da. And then some random woman joins, and we have never heard these people's voices, so we thought that she was like the assistant maybe. And then another random woman joins, and they both know each other, and so they're talking about something else. And Alex and I just were like, wait, what is happening? And we're like, is Rich joining? And they were like, what? And we're like, so then we both
Oh my
left and
God.
emailed the assistant, and she was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, he'll just give you a straight, like, just call you straight to your phone and you can phone the other person in. But I was like, does this company only have one conference call number?
I
Like, I
think
don't
people do.
understand.
I think because, like, I guess having a bunch of different Zoom links is confusing to people. They like, I don't know.
Well, I guess I thought that like Zoom like is similar to Google Hangouts or Google Meets where it generates a new thing every time.
Yeah, but I think, I don't know. I mean, I've seen like when I was in school, like, this is not to be ageist, but like older professors would like to just have one Zoom link because they would literally like copy it and just have it. Like it was
Oh,
confusing
interesting.
to have multiple
More.
links out there.
Huh.
But I feel like for an interview, it's like, come on, like another Zoom link. Because I could have like, if I was a dubious person and they gave out better information, like straight to the like
Well,
the
I'm surprised
class.
I'm surprised there's not like more like passwords or something cuz like theoretically you could like post that Zoom link like on Reddit and just be like anybody want to like join?
I know. Should I? Should I?
I mean, okay,
um
so that's our little catch up.
Yeah. Well, how are you? I
I'm
haven't.
I'm good. I've been really exhausted and I was telling you I like
Okay.
haven't I like thought I was getting sick and now I feel like I'm getting better, which was like a really I mean, I guess I shouldn't be complaining because it's like, oh, that's nice, I guess. But I've been
Yeah.
good. I like went out on Saturday and I like don't go out very often, but we went out in Venice, which was like kind of fun. I like doing that, but I feel like I just don't understand how people do that all the time because like I was down for the count on Sunday. Like I
Yeah.
did
So
not do
yeah.
anything. I just sat on the couch.
I guess that's what people do. I don't know.
I guess. I don't know. I like doing things on Sundays though. And I feel
My
like I
entire
just was
adult
like,
life has been like, is this what other people do?
yeah. And then I guess
Like I just like don't
realizing,
understand how anyone else lives their life. I don't know.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's this brand of TikToks that I see randomly where it's like people saying something that you thought was pretty obscure and then everybody being like, "Oh my gosh, you do that too?" Like, am I not is like have I never had an original thought? I can't think of like a good example, but if I remember one, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Um,
Should we get into this
we can get I'm
grisly
definitely
topic?
curious to learn about children sacrifices.
I
How
know.
did you
I'm
even
sorry.
find that?
Well, so that's what we're gonna talk about at the top.
Oh,
So,
okay.
well, how I found, so I have like two topics that are combined into one.
Oh, okay. We like
Um,
those.
because I did some extra credit work for my
Ooh.
big book report today. That's sometimes how this feels.
It totally
um,
does.
but so last night I was just, it was 2 a.m. I was on my phone and I came across this insane picture that I'm not even going to share because it was like kind of too disturbing. Like
Mm,
I kind of avoided it while I was looking at this
yeah.
topic and I was like, what the fuck is that? Oh, can I curse on here or no?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
just making sure.
We're good with fucks.
Um, and so then I got on this, but then it had a similar tone to a topic I do you like keep them? Like I had one that I was like, I'm gonna do this.
I have a list. I have a document that just
Yeah.
like
So
has ideas. So if I ever don't come up with a fresh one, I can just like pull from that. So yeah.
yeah. So this was, they're kind of related. So I was like, I'll just do them together because we don't need to hear about multiple mummy situations on this podcast.
It's a mummy
Um,
thing. I just learned something about mummies.
well, it's not an Egyptian mummy thing, it's like mummified bodies.
Oh.
What did you learn about mummies? I'd love to learn.
That the reason why there's not very many mummies is because the Victorians like ate them.
Is that true?
Let me double check it was the
I don't know if
Victorians, but I'm
that's
pretty
true.
sure did the Victorians eat mummies? I don't know. Google like auto searched that. The gruesome history Smithsonian Mag. The gruesome history of eating corpses as medicine.
What the fuck? People in history like are so fucked up. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
there's a so it says Noble who's Noble. Louise Noble has a new book called Medicinal Cannibalism in Early Modern English Literature and Culture.
Wow.
Mummies, Cannibals, and Vampires, the History of Corpse Medicine from the Renaissance to the Victorians. So it seems legit.
Ugh. Well, no, that's not what this is, but well, okay.
So we'll save that for another time.
So I found out about this other mummified person that
King Tut?
No. Okay. So there's you know, like in Western Europe and in England, there's bogs. You know, bogs, they're like marshy land.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say it's like a environment.
So they've discovered a lot of like mummified remains in those bogs from a few years ago to like thousands of years ago.
Okay. And specifically the ones in Western
So
Europe?
the ones I'm going to talk about, there's one in England. Well, it's been like England and in Germany and Denmark is where the majority of them have been found.
Okay.
So in 60 AD, a man was led into a marsh outside of Cheshire, England to be killed. And we're in 60 AD. All right.
How do we have this written record? That seems like a long time
because we
ago.
found his body.
Oh, sorry. Jumping ahead.
So he was in his mid-20s, so like our age. He was about 5'7", and he had a trimmed beard, mustache, and brown hair. And except for the armband made out of fox fur, he was completely naked. And it's likely that he was accompanied and likely restrained by 2 other people.
Okay.
So I wrote this down, but I'm not going to read it because I'm just not in the mood to learn about violence. But basically, he was brutally killed by these people. We're talking hit on the head, throat cut, noosed. Like it's just it's an atrocity.
Honestly, though, and I hope I'm never in this situation, but I feel like if I were to be brutally killed, I would want to be knocked unconscious first.
Oh, definitely.
Like I want to go like anytime if like this scenario, you know, everybody dies. Like the scenario that I die, I want to be like unconscious. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like I want to like die in my sleep or something.
Yeah, I mean,
like peacefully pass away. I just, you know, I like
even if I was to be brutally murdered, I'd feel like I would want just a discretionary hit on the head. Is that the correct word to use? That discretionary, whatever.
No, I mean, I don't want like a small hit on the head. I want it like I want to be knocked out. Like I don't want to.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
Like preferably from behind, so I don't even have time to get scared. Like I don't even know what's happening. But also, I just like to put this out there. Like I really don't want to be murdered. Like I cannot overemphasize how much I do not want that to happen in my life to me or anyone around me. So just so people know.
Same. I'll go on record to say that.
Yeah, don't want any confusion.
Okay. So this guy's killed, and then the last blow to him is they kick him in the back and like push him into this bog.
Okay.
And so that
are bogs deep? Sorry. I was picturing like muddy ground. Like I didn't think you could be pushed into like is it like a lake?
You don't know? Look this up. I'm gonna say with confidence that I don't deserve that it's like a marshland. And usually marshes aren't that deep. Am I wrong? That's
how
like a lake.
Deep are bogs? I just Googled
it. Thank you for doing the research.
How deep is a bog? Okay, so it says, according to Two Blondes Walking, it says to some extent both questions. Okay, so it says how long is a walk? How deep is a bog? To some extent, both questions can be answered with how long is a piece of string. Both things are difficult to define, but to some are extremely important. The bog question has been given a constant amount of airing on our walks. What is this? Okay, so these people were on a walk and fell into a bog. It wasn't a pleasant experience. It went up to their it went up to their thigh, and her thighs are quite long. Therefore, they've come to the conclusion that bogs are quite deep and should not be ventured into at any cost.
That's probably for the best.
So that was not, I don't know how that ended up being the first
Someone
Google
said
search
they're
result.
decently deep, like 10 feet. That's what I'm thinking.
That's much
Like
more.
that's
Oh,
like max.
okay. That's helpful. Okay, that's helpful. I feel like I don't understand what I just clicked on. It felt like very.
That felt like a riddle.
Okay,
I've
so
fallen
they.
into a bog before and
You
my dad
have?
had to fish me out. Yeah.
Is it like quicksand?
No, it's just like marshy.
Like, can you
Like
swim in it?
this I could. It was, I mean, I don't know. I'm saying a bog to have like a literary flair to it, but it was basically just like a marshy lake.
Huh. Okay. Oh, so the same person who said 10 feet, you can apparently drown in them.
Yeah, I'm sure it's just like muddy, like
Oh
thick,
my
gross, disgusting
gosh.
water.
Wow, that sucks.
Okay.
Okay.
Um, everyone's mad. We're off topic. That's the only thing that Twitch is gonna show us. Yeah, I
Okay,
fell
so
into a bog and my dad saved me. And now every time he goes past that bog, he sends me a picture saying, I saved you from this.
that's so
Um,
sweet.
so keeps me humble. So, okay, this guy fell into a bog and was killed. No, he didn't fall into the bog. Sorry. He was killed in the bog
They
and then
pushed
pushed in the
him.
bog.
Okay.
And then he went face first into said bog. And then 2,000 years later, he was discovered by people in the bog. Okay, so his name is the Lindo Man, and he was discovered in. I didn't write down. Oh my god. Okay, well, anyways, he's not even important. He's just getting us into the story. He
Okay.
was discovered in the bog, and
Is he
his
considered Lindy?
yeah, I would say 60 AD. He's pretty Lindy, um, and he was super well preserved because the bog basically
Like
just like yeah,
natural
you know what I mean?
preservation. Yeah.
Yeah. So since the 18th century, hundreds of bodies like this have been pulled out of the marshes of Northern Europe.
Hundreds?
Yes, dude. Like a lot of bodies.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, and the some of them come from the Stone Age and some of them up to World War II, these bodies.
Wow.
But
Didn't it get
most
full? Like, were there just like bodies like piled on top of it?
no,
Like,
because you know how like the earth just like constantly is getting new layers on top?
yes, but I'm saying like
That's a crude
in the
way of
context of like a bog though, I'm thinking of like almost like a pool. Think of it like a pool, right? And so it's like, okay, so the first layer is like dead bodies and then just like more and more, and it's like eventually stacking up until they're just like coming out of the bog.
well, I think they're because they're like sinking into the bog. It's like they're La Brea tar pits. Do you know what I mean?
I was gonna do that for a topic because I
You
know so
should.
little about it. So no, I
You
don't know what you
should.
mean.
Well, it's just like this thick, disgusting pool of stuff. And so it like the bodies like sink and then things more sentiment. What is the word? Okay, anyways.
Sediment.
It, sediment, sorry. Yes. It goes on top and then the bodies just kind of get buried. But also like bogs, people don't like walk through them. You know what I mean? So like
Okay.
okay, we shouldn't get stuck on this because we have a
Oh,
lot to get
sorry.
through.
Keep going.
It's
Keep going.
okay. So most of these bodies, though, were from a similar time period, which was 700 BC to 200 AD. I guess that's not that similar, but like 500 years span. Um, and a lot of them show like really bad trauma. Like they were killed in a very brutal way.
Mhm.
Um, and people have that has led people to believe that a lot of them are actually victims of human sacrifice.
I guess I'm wondering, like, what's the difference between human sacrifice? Why not just like murder? Like,
Well, because you're doing it for a religious purpose. That's the difference between murder and sacrifice.
but like, what makes them say that? Is there? Are you getting into that?
Well, like they were murdered, right? But like
Totally.
the purpose of the murder wasn't like, oh, this is a bad person. It's like we're sacrificing you for religious
But
purposes.
how did they deduce that from finding the bodies in the bogs?
Because they're okay, I will tell you. So the one that I first saw that made me go onto this was the Tulin Man. And he's like the most famous of the bog bodies because he's basically like a perfect corpse. Like his face is completely intact. It is
Wow. Like
so
even the skin and
scary.
stuff?
Yeah, and you can see like the stubble. Like he didn't shave the day he was killed, but he must have shaved like a few days prior. So there's like stubble on his face, and you can see it.
Wow.
I'm not gonna send you the pictures because are you like have a thing like you get queasy?
No, but I don't want to see the pictures right now.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I just sometimes I can see it. The ones that I'm gonna get into later, I don't even want to like post pictures of it because I find it like
Like
too,
really disturbing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but so the Tulin Man was discovered in 1950 in Denmark. And these people that are like were working in the bog found him and thought he was a murder victim, like a recent murder victim because of
Oh.
how like intact his body was.
Yeah.
And so he was also buried naked, and he had been hung. That's how he was killed because there's a noose still around his neck.
Okay.
And the thing that's weird about it and why they think it might be human sacrifice is that although he was hung, his face was very calm and he was laid down, like he was laid into the bog, like in a sleeping position.
Wait, so what was this called again?
The Tulund Man,
Tuland? Interesting.
Tollund.
Interesting. Okay.
Um, and so uh, they, anyways, I'm going too much into this, and this isn't the main topic, but the reason why this human sacrifice is a lot of them, a high number of them suffered from physical deformities, which
Uh-huh.
is why people thought that they must have been seen in the time as like significant and targeted for their uniqueness and probably like maybe spiritual power. And that's why they were victims of sacrifice.
Interesting.
Um, and so the bog water, what it does, it like basically like tans the skin. So it tans that it keeps the skin intact, but like the bones are really broken down. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
very bizarre. So and the sad thing is some of the other bodies that they found have been like mauled by people working in the bogs like through time. So they found some bodies that like some of the heads were crushed in because like people were like walking on them unknowingly that they were in there.
Yeah.
Um and so another reason why they think it might be human sacrifice is that there were weapons, wagons, food, images of God, and other whole ships left in the bogs.
Whole
They've also
ships?
found them. Yeah.
How big are these
And
bogs? I
so
was picturing like a
they're like
um
giant marshes. Have you ever seen you
no.
seen Wuthering Heights?
No.
That's
Like
like
I was thinking like the size max of like a reservoir.
no, I think they're pretty big, but also the ships back then, they're like imagine like this is not historically accurate, but it's like Viking ships. They're not like Pirates of the Caribbean ships.
Okay, okay.
You
I
know what
guess
I mean? They're
I feel
like
like everything smaller than Pirates of the Caribbean would be like a boat.
yeah, they're like boats,
Okay, okay.
I would say. But so the fact that these were found in the bogs, sometimes alongside the bodies, sometimes not, um, makes people think that it's human sacrifice because the
Okay.
common form of burying people back then was cremation. And the like people's material resources were really scarce. So like the
Yeah.
fact that they would leave whole ships left in the water means that they were probably ceremonial offerings. And I got this quote, which is kind of sad. It says, "In societies where slavery was common, a human being might have been worth less than a valuable sword or cauldron."
Oh my
I
gosh.
know. So thank God we live now, I have to say.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm with you on that one.
so yeah, that's basically why they think it's human sacrifice.
Okay.
So that's what got me on this like mummy mummified vibe of like not like purposely mummified, but like natural circumstances cause
Yeah.
mummified bodies. Okay. So then flash forward to last night, I'm on Instagram. I see this post of the most disturbing picture I've ever seen. And
Okay.
I didn't think it was real because of how this is why I'm not going to share it because it looks too real.
Okay.
But this is what I found. So this picture I found was one of these children that was sacrificed in the Incan Empire. And so that's the children of Llullaillaco. The children of Llullaillaco. I had to write down the phonetic spelling so I could get it right.
That's pretty good.
Um,
I wouldn't have
Thank
gotten
you.
that from the spelling.
So they let's
Let's
dive
dive
in.
in.
So unearthed in 1999 from the 2,200-foot summit of Mount Llullaillaco, a volcano 300 miles west of the Chilean border. The frozen bodies of the best preserved mummies ever found were discovered. And they were discovered with their internal organs intact and blood still present in their heart and lungs.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
And so their skin and facial features were also mostly unscathed. And up until that time, no effort had been made into preserving them. So the cold and the dry on top of this volcano basically did the work of preserving them. And they likely froze to death as they slept. And 500 years later, they looked like sleeping children, not mummies. Which is why I'm not sharing the picture because it's So 500 years ago in this land, near the Chilean border, that's where we are.
The way you said that made it sound like we were like in a fairy tale or something. Like it was just like a mythical land, but okay, Chilean border.
It's more mythical. It's whatever. I'm not gonna do a pun there. We're in the Incan Empire. That was 500 years ago.
Okay.
On the Chilean border, which was the largest empire in pre-Columbia America. Which, okay, did you not think the Incans were like a long time ago?
Yeah, I was surprised when you said 500 years. I thought that it was like 500 years is like, I know I'm pulling out my calculator for this. It was like, what is it? 2021 minus 500. That's the 1500s.
Yeah, I know. It's not that long ago.
Wait, that was really easy math. That's so embarrassing. But that's like, what? Okay.
I know. So, yeah, I thought it was way longer ago, but whatever. It is not. Turns out that's why we're doing this podcast. We're learning about. So, the Incan Empire, it was possibly the largest empire in the world during the early 16th century, which is 1500 per our conversation last week.
Well, and that's nuts to me that it's like what we talked about last week was happening like in tandem with this.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, basically the same era. This is like 200. No, this is like 100 years before that poison thing. So the Incan civilization was humongous and sadly was conquered by Spanish conquistadors and ultimately fell in 1533 with the fall of Cusco, which is the main city. And also, yes, it's the main character's name in Emperor's New Groove.
Like Emperor Cusco?
Emperor Cusco, which, okay, is that not the best Disney movie?
It's so underrated. I feel like people don't recall it enough. Like it's a really, and it holds up. It's a good movie.
It's so good. It's like I went through this cycle where I would get drunk and then go on Amazon and accidentally buy movies like so that I could watch them. And I bought Emperor's New Groove and occasionally I'll just throw it on. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, I get it. I don't drunk
it's
buy
really
things,
good.
But I get it. I get it. It's so good. You should watch Sweatbox. Have you seen it?
No, what's that?
I actually haven't seen it either. I've been meaning to watch it. I also got Gimme Shelter. Did I tell you that?
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it soon. On the
DVD.
Blu-ray, yeah. 4K, I think. What was I looking up? Sweatbox. So it's this documentary that Disney was like really trying to block from coming out. Sweatbox documentary. And basically what happened, I think it was made by, so Sting did the music for Emperor's New Groove, right?
Really?
Yeah,
That's so
and
funny.
his wife, my understanding of it is that they asked Sting to help write the music after he finished with Lion King.
Mm-hmm.
And when, sorry, I'm trying to like make sure I get it right. But long story short, as part of his like contract, I guess, they agreed that his wife could make a documentary about the making of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the movie was originally called Kingdom of the Sun, and it was like totally different, and like there were like really like, it was just like not a good working environment.
Oh.
And she was making this documentary, and so they like really tried to block it from coming out, and like you can kind of find it now, but it's hard.
Oh, wow.
It's hard to find. Yeah.
But that movie turned into Emperor's New Groove.
The Emperor of the Sun or whatever, Kingdom of the Sun turned into Emperor's New Groove. But so it says release and reception. It's an 84-minute film. It was originally supposed to be released at the beginning of 2001, was, quote, heavily edited down into a short extra feature on the Emperor's New Groove DVD and named Making the Music Video, and only featured the one of the songs that Sting did. It also had a short run at the Lowe's Beverly Center Cineplex of Los Angeles in an unpublicized 1-week run in order to be eligible for an Academy Award nomination.
Wow.
And it was shown as part of the Florida Film Festival. I'm trying to think. So yeah, it's like this like under the radar thing, but you should watch it. I haven't watched it yet. It's on my list.
What's it called? I should write it down.
The Sweatbox. I think that's in it's in reference to the working conditions.
Oh, great.
But anyways,
well, yeah,
Cusco.
Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah.
So if you want, like, I don't know, it's a light thing to follow up this.
Yeah, maybe it's
on,
like a pairing.
Perhaps. Okay, so we're back to child sacrifice.
Okay.
So child sacrifice, I'm gonna butcher this pronunciation, so I do apologize. It's referred to as capacocha, and it was an important part of the Incan religion and often used to commemorate important events, such as the death of one of the Incan emperors. So it was used as an offering to, or human sacrifice in general was used as an offering to the gods in times of famine and a way of asking for protection. But sacrifice could only occur with direct approval from the Incan emperor. So thank God. It's not just like you can sacrifice anyone. They had
want
some
something
rules
just
for it.
I feel like when I pray I like ask for a lot of shit. And so like could you imagine like anytime you ask for something you're like, well, gotta sacrifice another one.
Like, I gotta sacrifice my child right now.
I couldn't imagine. Okay.
I mean, my mind went to people would just kill all people all the time and be like, it was a sacrifice. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Well, okay. So he had to approve it.
Okay.
And children, when used in sacrifice, were chosen from all over the empire and were picked primarily based on their physical perfection. So they were like hot kids to the front.
Hot kids to the front. Oh my gosh.
That was the national campaign slogan for it.
We got milk, and theirs is like
and they were generally sons and daughters of nobles and local rulers, and they were taken to hundreds or thousands of miles to Cusco, the capital, where they were subject of important purification rituals, and then they were sent to high mountaintops throughout the empire to be sacrificed. And according to traditional Inca belief, children those who were sacrificed didn't truly die, but were instead there to watch over the land from their mountaintop perches alongside their ancestors,
Okay.
and it was considered a big honor to be chosen.
Yeah. I guess that's like good to know because obviously we don't have
Yeah,
child sacrifice in our society, but like trying to stay open-minded to like obviously this is like a very different belief system, but I feel like at least the kids probably weren't like like I'm sure there's probably some fear associated, but if generally the society sees it as being a huge honor, it's not like,
yeah, of course,
you
yeah.
know.
We do have child sacrifice. Think about Britney Spears. Sorry, that was a dark joke.
No, but I think that's such no, I don't think it's a joke. I think that's a good observation.
We have it in one form or another,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
So traveling to these sites obviously was a huge ordeal because these are like mountain tops. And so they would involve a procession of priests and of course the children that would be sacrificed, and a number of other important people would also come along. And the sites were like super hard to get to, but they freaking trekked on for the greater good. And many like they would build like stations alongside the route so that it made it easier to get these
Oh,
children up
interesting.
top and
Can I
fed.
ask how
So
old the kids were?
yeah, they were really young. Like 13. I think one was 6 years old. They were very young.
Okay.
He was the girl, the oldest one that the picture that I saw that she's like the most well preserved. She was what does it say, 15. And so they were discovered. The mummies were discovered in 1999. So kind of recently, like considering.
Yeah, that's in our lifetime. And we're young,
By
so
very, very young. I was alive in
I was
1999.
I was in kindergarten.
Isn't that crazy that we saw the year 2000 happen? Was it a big deal? Do you remember that?
I remember my parents, it was a big deal. We went on vacation. We were on that was the first year that we went on vacation over between Christmas and New Year, and we went to
Wait, I was
Kauai.
also in Hawaii for 2000.
No way. Yeah, we went to Kauai and there was like a boxer jellyfish invasion. And a beached whale. And so we couldn't go on the beach and they wanted to set off fireworks, but me and my brother were too scared of the beached whale and getting stung by jellyfish, so we just didn't.
Oh my god. That's kind of ominous, honestly.
Yeah, I never thought about that. Like the ringing in of the new year, there was like a beached whale and everybody was getting stung by jellyfish.
Yeah, when I left San Francisco, there was a beached whale, and I really thought it was symbolic of something, and I never figured out what, but I felt like it was symbolic.
Oh, wow.
Okay, we're back. So 1999, they're discovered by Johann Reinhardt and his team of researchers. And he was, I didn't write it down, but I read, he's like, has connection to National Geographic.
Okay.
Like, I'm not sure if they sent him on these things or if he had some relation to National
and then
Geographic.
sell it to them, but he was
okay. Yeah.
They were in bed together.
They were in bed together. He did an exhibition to the high Andes to search for Inca ritual sacrifice sites. And so 3 days into their search, they discovered these children, 2 girls and 1 boy. And around the gravesite, there was several gold like statues, textiles, and pottery. And the youngest girl, her body had been struck by lightning after her death, causing burn damage. Just sucks. Jesus.
So they just left the bodies up there?
Yeah. Well, I'll talk about it more specifically. And then the other 2 were not affected at all. And their clothes were in very good condition. Wow. Like this picture that I'm not going to send you, and you can look up on your own accord if you want to, it looks like it's a real person. Like it looks like it's a live person that's just asleep. It's very creepy. And so
like I guess for people who maybe want to look it up, like what would they look up?
Children of what's the pronunciation that I wrote down specifically?
You can just spell
You
it out. They'll need to spell it anyways.
isn't it on here? Just look that up.
On
Does it?
where?
I thought you had like a title on this. No.
I changed it to children sacrifices because I didn't think people
Just look
would know
up
what that is.
children Inca sacrifices, and it's famous. It'll come up. Because I'm not gonna spell out the name. It's very long, but it's Llullaillaco, but it's not spelled like that at all. So the thing is the research team, like, they had a super hard time getting up to this volcano where they were, and they almost had to like bail because there's a storm that was about to break out.
Mhm.
But right when they were about to, I mean, it was like the movie moment where they're like, we have to go down, and then the guy was like, what is that? And then they discovered the children. So they discovered an artificial layer, which I don't know, they didn't really specify what that means, but I think that might mean like they put like rocks or something over, I don't know. They didn't
Okay.
specify, but they found like they had to unearth these bodies. They weren't just
Got
like
it.
sitting there.
Okay.
So like I said, there's 3 mummies at the burial site, and I do not speak Spanish, so please, I'm gonna pronounce the name, but I'm gonna do the translation as well. So La Donacella, which is Donacella, sounds good, which is the maiden,
Mhm.
La Niña del Rayo, the lightning girl, and El Niño, the boy. And so once they reached the top of the mountain, the children were allowed to fall asleep and placed in a small tomb about 1.5 meters, like 5 feet underground, where they were left to die. And before
They buried them alive?
yeah, but they were like severely drugged. So
Okay.
they kind of died peacefully, they
Oh,
think.
okay.
They think. One of the girls, like, if you look at the picture, she literally looks like she's taking a nap.
Okay. Okay.
She's like laying like this. It's really disturbing to me. Why am I talking about this? I'm just kidding. I thought it was really fascinating. Anyways, so they um they were super well preserved, even down to like the individual hairs on the girl that was 15. You can see that her hair is braided, and like you can see all the clothes she was in.
Wow.
Really intense. So like I said, their hearts were even still intact and contained frozen blood.
That's nuts to me.
And basically, because the mountain it's like high desert, the air is super dry, but it's also really cold. They basically just froze like immediately, and that's what was able to preserve them.
I wonder
Um,
if, because doesn't this might be me talking on my ass, but I feel like oxygen, like oxidation, like breaks down a lot of things. And so if they're at like the top of like the peak of a mountain, the air is thinner. And so there's less oxygen, right? And so I wonder if that is also like part of.
no, I think that is part of it. Yeah. I just learned that they did an experiment where like these 2 twins. Is this true or is this a dream? There's 2 twins, and then one of them went up to the space station, and then the other one obviously stayed down here. And then
No, I think they
they
did this.
they reunited, and one was like younger than the other one because he didn't have the effect of gravity.
Yeah, I think that's a thing. I feel like I saw that.
Is Mark Kelly? Is that who it is? Anyways, um, I just learned about that. I thought that was crazy. Um, so the most famous of them, because she's the most well preserved, was considered the Maiden. Her name is the Maiden, and she a bacterial infection was discovered in her lungs after they like did the tests on her. Um, so, but they think that happened before she died. Like she was sick before
Okay.
she had like a cold or something.
Okay.
And she wore a dress, and like I said, her hair was like elaborately braided, and she had a feather adorned headdress. And she died in her sleep. And she was I didn't like fully research this, but it says that she was considered the Sun Virgin, which means that she was a virgin and sacrificed, or she was given away to be sacrificed at the age of 10. So she lived for 5 years, like knowing she was going to be sacrificed. But it doesn't sound that bad, because they basically like went to these like convents and were just like given a shitload of food and like cocaine. And like they just were like lived it up, because they were like the chosen people. And so an analysis of her hair showed that she was drugged with alcohol and cocaine before the start of the ritual. And she had coca leaves in her cheek at the time of her death. And the blood samples that they took of her showed that she had consumed a lot of it in the leading up to her death, not just before. More so than the other two, which is why I think she looks so like peaceful almost. I mean, it literally looks like she fell asleep and just like was asleep forever. So El Nino, who's the boy, he was 7 years old and he was sacrificed. And this is kind of disturbing, so warning. He had been tightly wrapped when he died, so some of his ribs and pelvis were dislocated. And it seems like he was under distress because there was vomit and blood found on his clothing. And he was lying in the fetal position, and he was wearing a gray tunic, a silver bracelet, and leather shoes. And they think that his head was elongated. You know how they did that back in the day?
No.
Like they would wrap the skull really tight and like elongate the skull.
Yeah. Like body modification stuff.
Yeah. And so then the other one, like I said, was I chose not to cover her. She was younger and she was struck by lightning, which is really sad.
Yeah.
So she was kind of burned. But here's the thing. So I saw the pictures of these children and I was like, that's really grotesque. Turns out, Sydnee, they're on display.
Okay.
So you can go see them at the Museum of High Altitude Archaeology, which is in Salta, Argentina. Okay. And Salta was part of the Incan Empire in the late 1400s and early 1500s, before being conquered by the Spanish. And so to promote deterioration, a computer-controlled climate system maintains the same environmental conditions.
Oh, interesting.
That on the mountains so that they don't deteriorate.
Yeah.
And if there's an earthquake or a fire to happen, they have this whole like emergency plan where they would be airlifted out to another location and plugged back in.
Whoa.
And so the museum opens in 2007. So that's when the first people could see them. So I remember when I was studying abroad in England, I went to the British Museum and there is a like mummified body like this. And I remember having a very adverse reaction to it, being like, should we see this? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so leading into this next point, which is that it's super controversial that they're on display and that they were even taken down from the mountain in general. Yeah. Which I can totally see.
Yeah, it's tough because I could see the case for both, that it's like I don't want to see that, and I don't know about like it being on display, but like I guess it's just like, why do we need this information? Because where I go is like, that's so fascinating that like we now know more about like the Incans and like this sacrifice situation and like just learning all of that and like knowing, I don't know, like it's interesting to know, I guess, that it was like she was taken to like a commune, the was the Duchess or the Maiden. Mm-hmm. And that it was like they gave her cocaine. Like that's interesting, but I'm also like, okay, but that's like, I don't want to call it a fun fact, but it's like, was it really worth kind of like disturbing if they thought it was important enough to sacrifice these children to their gods, then like maybe don't touch them.
No, it's totally what I think. I mean,
so I guess that's
mean,
kind of where I'm at, is like I'm more there, but I like can hear the reasoning as to why they're on display. It's kind of like, but not the same thing when I think about like zoos, for example, when I'm like, I don't love the idea of like these wild animals being in captivity, especially if it's not as part of like, you know, for science purposes, or like they're rescuing the animal and they can't rehabilitate them out back into the wild. But the argument that I've been told is like, well, some people might not ever get to see like a giraffe in person, and like seeing a giraffe in person is important for like the preservation of the species and for people to like care and just like experience the world. Again, like that's like kind of a clunky comparison, but yeah, I don't know, because I mean, like the reason why I said King Tut earlier was when we were in high school, I think King Tut was in like Santa Ana or something, and I remember it was like a big thing, like it was like a really big thing, and like I feel like everyone I knew ended up going to see King Tut and like see the mummy. And I don't know, like I guess at the time I didn't think about it, but it's like, why are we taking this? Like, did I need to see that? I could have seen pictures.
Well, it's like there's pros and cons, because I understand like when they found these bodies, they like took them and examined them, and we've got to learn more about the culture and history and da 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 da. But it's like, for me, it's like putting them on display seems different than like learning about them. Do you know what I mean? But I guess maybe it's like good like physical evidence that like if you're not a researcher, you get to like see it and have the experience. I don't know. It's I can see there's pros and cons.
It's a very nuanced subject matter, like that I'm not like a super expert in, but just from like I guess my own personal beliefs and opinions, I'm kind of like, at what cost sort of a thing, that it's like, oh well, we're learning new things. It's like, but at what cost? Like, do I really need to see the body of like these sacrificed children? Like, do I need to see their remains to like understand? Like, I don't think I do. Yeah. But maybe some people need that evidence. Like,
well, I needed your decision, because we're gonna decide what we're gonna do with them.
Oh my gosh, you like take your mask off. You're like, I'm actually head of the like, what was it, the high altitude.
I'm head of the high altitude, and we are now doing whatever you said. No, well, so they were put on display, and the Indigenous Association of Argentina was not happy with that and said it was a violation of their loved ones, which I can totally see. And they say the children continue to be sacred for us, and they should never have profaned the sanctuary and put their children on exhibition as if it was a circus, which I could kind of see that a little bit.
I can see that.
But then another indigenous chief of the Lullas said that the mummies, quote, should have stayed in their territory. And now that the mummies have already been exhumed, the museum would have to return them. It is not good that the museum is earning money with that and charging an admission for something that doesn't belong to them.
That was going to be my other question, is like, I guess, and this is going to make me sound really dumb, but I guess I didn't really realize that. Well, I guess I did know this, but like they just like walked up to this sacred grounds and like took these things. Like, I guess I just like, what? Why would you? It feels very obvious to me that you wouldn't do that.
That's archaeology though.
I know, it's like, but that's why I guess that's what I was originally starting with, is it's also like we've learned a lot from archaeology, so like I can see the merit of the field. But like, can we not learn from it if it's like we just like leave it there? I guess, like, can we ask for permission? Like, there has to be
I know.
A better
that's
way.
Like, when I went to the British Museum, it's literally like they cut out temples and just shipped it. It's like, why is this here? Like, why did you cut this out of? And I know, like, at the time it was like, oh, like we'll preserve it, but it's, I don't know. It's like.
Is that the like the justification though?
Yeah, that is.
Is that it's like, well, then we can preserve it and like for future generations?
Yeah. Well, because there's that big controversy over
Hobby Lobby?
no, but
Have,
also I was gonna do that as a
I was
topic. That's so
too. It's
funny.
on
Oh
my
my
list,
god.
dude.
Okay, I'll leave it to you.
Well,
You
no,
can
no,
do
no.
it.
I think we should just leave it to whoever gets to it first, but I really hope that there's a well, I guess
Well,
we
what
don't.
if we both prep it the same
Well, that was
week?
my thing was I guess we don't have an episode. We don't do both present in the episodes now, but it would have been pretty funny if we both presented an episode and
On
we're
Hobby
like, wait,
Lobby.
this
It
is
could honestly wait, we should not say, and it could be like a duel. Like we could
ooh, duel it out.
refute each other and be like, actually, that's not true.
Who so one
Oh,
of us is
sorry.
gonna take the side of Hobby Lobby?
Yeah.
They
No, no,
should have
no. It's
taken
like a
the
fact
what did they
checker
have?
situation.
What did they have again? They like have some artifact. I really
I
don't
honestly don't
understand
remember
it.
the details. I just remember Hobby Lobby was involved in some like high level artifact scheme. Like they stole artifact, like historical
Yeah, they had
artifacts or
like a
something.
historical artifact that like wasn't obviously it's Hobby Lobby, wasn't theirs and were forced to
Yeah.
like give it back, I think.
Yeah.
Don't take our word for it. We'll do it in a future episode.
We'll
But
report on it in future.
yeah,
Um so
the store, Hobby Lobby the store to clarify.
yeah, the
Yeah.
store, correct. So where was I? So the region where the mummies were found, there's believed to be at least 40 other similar burial sites. Um, but in order to have good relationships, quote, with the Indian people, no more mummies are being removed from the area.
Good.
This is according to the director of the museum.
Okay.
And he did go on to say, probably defensively, that some indigenous people support the research. And the Third World Congress of the Quechua, sorry, I'm butchering that, language in the late 2004 brought together representatives from countries in the Andes. And they were like, actually, this is fine because the investigations recognize the greatness of the Inca civilization, and they like it helps tell the story of this civilization that's no longer around.
Like I said, it seems like so nuanced.
Yeah. Well, and the last thing I wrote was that some of indigenous leaders, I believe that they get, this is so rough, but like I'm pretty sure the museum supports indigenous causes, and so they're like, if they didn't have these things that people want to come see, like they wouldn't make income, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, obviously that's a huge topic to go over, but I just thought it was interesting because like it's, again, if you want to look up these mummies, it looks like dead children, and it's like I can't imagine going to a museum.
They are dead
being
children.
Like, I mean, yeah, but they're like, it's like that girl is asleep right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the picture I saw, I thought it was like a meme because it was like all these guys in like hazmat suits like surrounding this little girl. I thought it was like a Photoshop, and that's actually why I looked it up, but it was real.
Interesting. Yeah,
so
I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like it's like, let's take away the ethics of should they or shouldn't they take these from, sacred grounds or from the societies and like groups that actually own these things. Like, let's just like pretend that doesn't exist. That conversation doesn't exist. And it's just like,
yeah.
Should we or should we not put mummified dead children on display? It feels pretty obvious to me that maybe we shouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, am I just like a prude? I don't know. I don't even know that, like, does that change for adults then? I don't know. I feel like just for children, it feels a little bit more cut and dry. And for adults, though, it feels just like kind of disrespectful to the dead.
That's my thing. And even, I mean, I don't know. It's like the mummies at least are like concealed, but like, I guess what I'm talking about is like mummified bodies, like bodies that are like the corpse is out on display.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah, the one I vaguely remember from my art history classes, the reason, like an argument for archaeological excavation and like shipping it to places, there's like the big incident. I'm just gonna do a quick minor topic for 2 seconds. Was in 2001, the Taliban destroyed these like ancient mummies in Buddhas, sorry, in Afghanistan, these like giant Buddha statues. The Taliban like destroyed them. And people were like, we should have went in and like taken them so they wouldn't be destroyed. That's like an argument for this sort of thing, is like destruction. But
Yeah. Interesting.
slippery slope. It's a slippery slope of a topic.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like I said, it's such a nuanced topic that it's just like
Yeah.
I can't
The
give
children
like a hard
thing
and
though,
fast
it just
thing, but
seems,
yeah, I just don't think I'd want to see dead kids. That seems
yeah, it's not really a hobby of mine to. You told me in the last episode about the haunted house where they like attack
yeah,
you.
dude. Oh my gosh. Here, wait.
I had
Did
a
you look it
dream
up?
about that. No, I never did because I was too scared,
Most
honestly.
haunted house, Los Angeles. I feel like if I see the name of it, I'll be able to tell you what it's called.
California woman claims she was waterboarded at.
What's that? Yeah. I was obsessed when I was a kid.
McKamey Manor in San Diego.
No. I see the one, the most Blackout. The Blackout. That's what it's called.
Oh my God.
Which is
So
in New York
scary.
and Los Angeles. So we were talking last week, everybody, about like haunted houses and like scary haunted house things. And here, I'm going to send it to you if you want to look at it or don't. Oh my gosh, that's such a horrible thumbnail image. I'm so sorry. So click on it fast and then I'm going to delete it.
Okay, yeah.
But basically we're talking about like intense haunted house experiences and how it's just like I don't want anything to do with that. And how when I was a kid, so as an adult, I still do this. I look up the plots of like scary movies that I will never see just because I'm curious. And so I became super obsessed with haunted houses or haunted house experiences. And so there's one called Blackout that I particularly became very obsessed with, and it's in New York and Los Angeles. And this article that we're reading says the Blackout haunted house has proven so popular in both New York and LA that they're now set to open a location in Chicago. The events in the haunted house change every year, making sure it stays completely unpredictable and uniquely frightening. You have to be over 18 to enter, and right before they provide you with a safe word. If it ever becomes too much to handle, you can yell it out and they will let you leave. It says previous years' exhibits having consisted of people being left in darkness and silence for unfathomable amounts of time, being waterboarded, having unknown things thrown at them or into their mouth. You are not allowed to speak unless it is to yell. You must do everything you are told, and you must wear a mask. And last year you had to walk through the entire haunted house alone, but this year you'll be allowed to enter as a group.
How is the waterboarding thing legal though? That seems like super illegal.
I think because you consent to it. Wait, okay, it has the McKamey Manor, the one that you're talking about.
Yeah.
It says visitors have to be 21 years old, have to sign a waiver, maximum of 2 people allowed to enter at a time. Staff recommends you don't wear any expensive items of clothing because the haunted house is extremely interactive and pretty much anything goes. Can you imagine? The experience, dubbed as living your own horror movie, why would you do this, can last anywhere between, guess how long it can last?
How long?
4 to 7 hours.
How is that an apt business model? That's my question.
Actors will grab you, put bags over your head, gag you. Basically, all the extreme physical contact and fake blood splattering they can legally get away with. Admission is free. It's free.
How do they make money? Is it some like sick like person that
just enjoys doing it? 2 perishable food items that can be donated to charity are encouraged. That's nice. Sometimes the only way you can be let out of this
charity's like we don't want to be involved in this.
It says sometimes the only way you can be let out of this extreme haunted house is if you beg for mercy, literally. Their 5-minute promo video shows blindfolded people with duct tape on their mouth getting terrorized into doing things and yelling for their life. That's not even the most scary.
What the fuck?
Do you want to hear about the scariest?
Like, yeah, I kind of do, but I'm going to acknowledge that I know some people are into that, and that's totally fine.
It's not for me, man.
I mean, I don't want to be involved at all. I would literally like, what was the code word? Like, have mercy on me.
It's a safe word.
I would just go in and be like, safe word.
I'm done.
Walk like 1 foot
Let me
in.
out. It says, the scariest one is in New Hampshire. You have to be at least 18 years old, sign a waiver, and complete the tour completely alone. Their website warns of encounters with live animals, extreme physical contact. What in the world does that mean? Sexual undertones and witnessing extreme violence. The creator, Lance Davis, has said it's called the Cult Haunted House experience is not for everyone, and only those who wish to experience real-life terror and test their limits and fears. The experience starts off outside, where you have to take a chairlift to the top of a hill. This is all alone. This is insane. So you take a chairlift to the top of a hill where you are given a flashlight, and you have to find your way to the cabin at the end of the dirt road. This sounds like a video game. Oh my goodness. You arrive at the cabin, you're shoved through a bunch of doors. One room appears to be a medical examination room where actors creep up behind you, whisper sexual innuendos in your ear, and caress your hair. Another room includes a housewife setting up a tea party and then who serves you a plate of cockroaches, real cockroaches, some of which are thrown on you and some of which are thrown into your mouth.
Oh my God.
When you sign the waiver at the beginning, you are given a long list of possible scenarios to leave you guessing as to which you might encounter. This haunted house takes creepy to another level. It's dramatic rather than blood splattering, creepy rather than the traditional jump scare haunted house experiences, and its realistic and eerie scenarios will really give you chills.
Okay.
No thanks.
This is now a law question.
Okay.
But can you sign a waiver and if you sign the waiver, anything goes except for like extreme bodily harm. Is that what a waiver, like, is that the limits of a waiver? Do you know what I mean?
I think it depends what's in the waiver. I think anything could be in the waiver.
Except like, we're going to kill you. And you're like, ha ha ha. Like,
I mean, technically, I guess if they wrote it in there and you signed away.
That can't be legal. That can't be legal.
Can you get somebody's legal consent to kill them?
No, I think that's, I don't know. I mean, that's whatever. I just feel like it's like, so if you can have someone sign something and be like, I literally am going to torture you. And you're like, cool, great.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's what this is you're like, cool, great. Thank you. You can be like a really you'll be just like the niche lawyer. So you'll do space law and horror law.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So somebody says you can sign a waiver that states that upon your death, your family can't sue them.
Whoa. So, but that doesn't mean that you're allowed to kill them. That just means that you can't take civil action against you.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm talking like a lawyer over here for my new law firm.
The state, I think, can still sue you. You know how it's like the people versus so-and-so when it's
O.J. Simpson.
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not. That sounds like something some psychotic person would put together and then like accidentally kill people, you know?
Yeah.
That's so creepy.
Did you watch Squid Game?
Yeah. Did you?
I did. I didn't
like
it. Through it.
Oh, interesting. Why? Also, try like no spoilers, but no
spoilers. I just honestly I just couldn't handle the violence.
It's really fucking dark.
It's really hard for me. I got through the first episode and I was like, I loved the actor though. He was so good. I loved the vibe. But the violence was hard. And then the second episode, I was like, I'm not invested enough to like.
That's funny because I had a similar experience, but I was invested enough that I decided to go forward. Okay. Honestly, I think the art direction for me was the only reason why I kept watching.
Yeah, it was cool.
That's the only reason. And I'm glad that I finished it and I really did enjoy it a lot. But I agree. I said to Alex multiple times, like, I'm so surprised this is so popular because it is so gruesome. And I just I wouldn't have thought that this was universal enough or enough people like would willingly stomach this to make this like the most watched show on Netflix. Because I think
honestly, I guess that's what made me nervous about it. I was like watching that first episode where that big event happens, and I was like, why are people like, the fact that so many people were like, yeah, like made me kind of freaked out.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's like probably a few things. I think because like I don't know that I would have pushed through if I didn't know there was so much, like everybody was talking about it, right?
Yeah.
And so I wonder how many people were kind of like in like peer pressured into watching something they were uncomfortable with. But then also at the same time, I think that like there probably were a lot of people that were very comfortable with it, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But like my parents, I was talking to my parents about it, and I was like, I don't know that I can recommend it to you. I think it'll be too much.
Violent. Yeah.
Because it was a lot. I had to do so much therapy. It like was very triggering for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh. I mean, I could see that. That's that first episode. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, but it's weird because for me, like, it wasn't that the violence was overtly triggering. What I found triggering was like the overwhelm of like emotion. Like it was just too stimulating, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting. I admire your like transparency. I feel like I felt very similarly, but I haven't actually had anybody who said they also did.
Speak up, people.
Speak up.
Your emotions.
Yeah. But okay, well, is this the end of the episode?
I guess. This has been fun.
Yeah, this has been fun. So if I mean, obviously the Twitch chat already knows, but if you're like Twitch, I mentioned Twitch a few times and you're listening on the audio version or on YouTube, this was our first live podcast recording, and we're gonna be live on Twitch. We're going to talk about it after, but I'd imagine if we decide that we want to keep doing it this way, we'd be live on Twitch on Tuesday evenings on my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/SydSoGood. And we'll continue to put the VODs up on YouTube and the audio on anywhere that you listen to your podcast. So if you only caught the ending, or you only were here for part of it, or you want to know like where can I watch the whole thing or listen to the whole thing, like Spotify, Apple, literally like pretty much every podcast service we're on, or you could watch this VOD on YouTube, and that will all go up on Friday.